They probably feel good about that. The world is not focusing on their nuclear program anymore. The world is not focusing on the effectiveness of sanctions. They're focusing on Tunisia. They're focusing on Libya. They're focusing on Egypt. They're focusing on Yemen. And they're focusing on اشرف. Iran retains its defiant stance to the global community's demands for transparency with regard to its nuclear program. They continue to get away with being a net exporter of terror through Hamas, Hezbollah, and other surrogates, and they have done so since 1983 in Lebanon. That I'm certain of. And thus far, they are resisting the effects of almost a globally imposed sanctions regime that we hope will help them move in the right direction. They demonstrate an alarming and growing influence over the government of Iraq. That is worrisome. It is also an insult to the sacrifice made by many nations to try to give the people of Iraq a better future under a democratically elected government. The exchange of prisoners agreement that went between Iraq and Iran was announced the other day, and also the decision by the government of Iraq for the residents of Camp Ashraf to leave Iraq by year's end was announced. You can be sure, we can all be sure, that Iran is working very hard to ensure that Tunisia, Egypt, and Libya and their so-called efforts under the Arab Spring will turn out the way they want, not the way we want, in terms of a democratic movement. But let us hope and let us pray that, on the other hand, things in Iraq and Iran may not be so bleak after all, from our point of view. It could be that as Tunisia and Libya and Egypt shed themselves of authoritative governments and authoritarian oppressive regimes, that they move towards democracy, that they might be successful. This would not be good for Iran. It could be perhaps that even Syria, a very strategically important country, might also, as a result of the expression of its people, find the courage and the strength and the stamina to move in that direction. Time will tell. It could also be that the same spark that lit the fuse of freedom in these countries that I just mentioned, and despite the brutality and the oppression of the regime in Iran, will be ignited in Iran. It could be that the sanctions and Iran's global isolation